Hello all, welcome to a new episode of Sillypoint. We're going to carry on with previewing international series, and today we're going to talk about the big one, India versus Australia. It's a 4 Test match series. Lots of things happening with both squads. Virat Kohli leaving for paternity leave, Rohit Sharma potentially back for the last 2 Test matches. Lots of injuries for Australia to contend with. So we'll go through all of that. I've got Zahid here with me as always. Should we just straight away get into it? Should we talk about the starting 11s first, Zahid?
Yeah, let's start. Hello, everyone. We can start off with Australia, the home team. Probably easier given the
Yeah,
injuries that they've
yeah,
had. Um, and let's just start with the top of the order. We are just
yeah,
talking offline about this. How would you look at it? Warner is obviously not going to play. Will
yeah,
Pukovsky was probably the other opening partner, so he's out. So that's,
yeah,
I mean, by default, you're left with Marcus Harris and a horribly out of form Joe Burns.
yeah. Agreed. It's just a method of elimination, isn't it? Really,
Yeah.
they don't have much choice apart from going with these players.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate.
I don't think they'll try and be experimental and put
Yeah,
one of the middle order players up at the top of the order,
yeah. I mean,
especially not for the first test. But
yeah, the only one that can go up is Manis, but
yeah,
then you need to plug
yeah,
a player in the middle order, and they
yeah,
could have gone with Cameron Green, but he's injured as well.
yeah,
We haven't got any
yeah,
confirmation yet, but he's been concussed.
yeah,
So I don't think that they're going to go down that route. They're going to stick with Joe Burns, not because they want to show solidarity or anything like that. I think he would have
yeah,
been dropped under normal circumstances, but
yeah,
because of lack of options, it's going to be Joe Burns and Marcus Harris to open in the first Test match at least.
yeah, yeah. I agree with
Which
that.
is which just to let everyone know, that is a day and night Test match being played at Adelaide. So India's first overseas day and night Test match. And we all know what happens in the evening session.
Yeah,
Uh,
with the
in
ping ball and everything.
Yeah,
So and then
yeah,
number 3 and 4 pretty straightforward.
yeah,
Labuschagne, Steve Smith,
yeah. Well, I
Travis
think
Head.
five and six are also pretty straightforward because again, they're players who've done relatively well in the Ashes,
Yeah,
and the other Test series that Australia have played since then. So I think 5 would be Travis Head, and
yeah,
6 would be Matthew Wade.
yeah.
So
As
I
a
think
pure
with those,
batsman, right? And
as a
then
pure
because you'll
batsman,
have captain at number 7, Tim Payne.
yeah, you'll have Tim Payne, captain, chief sledger at number 7, and then the bowling is very straightforward. You've got Stark at 8. No, sorry, Cummins at 8 because he's a
Yeah,
better batsman. Stark at 9, Hazelwood 10, and Nathan Lyon 11. So straightforward bowling
yeah.
attack.
Yeah,
Uh,
very straightforward. Start coming back obviously after missing the back end of the white ball series.
yeah, and Cummins as well was rested from the T20. I think, yeah, from the T20s
Yeah,
and the last ODI. So they're coming back. They'll be coming back pretty fresh. And to be fair, I must say, Australia's bowling enviable depth there. So in case one of these guys are injured, you can easily bring in, James Pattinson.
yeah,
And if someone else gets injured, you can bring in a guy called Michael Nesser, who's
yeah,
done really well in the Sheffield, in Australia's kind of first class domestic
yeah,
competition, the Sheffield Shield, as they call it. So, lots of options there, lots of depth. And obviously, moving into the second, third, fourth Test matches, hopefully David Warner comes back.
yeah,
Will Pukovsky comes back.
yeah.
Um, first choice would have been David Warner and Will Pukovsky
Obviously,
in my mind.
yeah,
But then, yeah, unfortunate circumstances that they're going to miss out.
yeah,
Cool. And obviously, if the ball is going to turn in Sydney, I think they're playing a Test match in Sydney,
yeah,
right? Where they might want to pick 2 spinners. Then I think Mitch Swepson, who's
yeah,
the leg spinner who played the T20 series, I think he's a good option to go with if they want to go with 2 spinners.
yeah,
Um, and yeah, and obviously the other thing is Cameron Green. Once he's fit, he
yeah,
can also come in place of Wade or Travis Head if they want a fifth bowler.
yeah. Mitch Marsh is injured as well, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
Mitch Marsh is playing the BBL, but
yeah,
he's playing as a pure batsman only at the moment.
yeah,
He's not bowling yet. So I think he'll only be considered for the Test matches if he was bowling.
yeah.
Cool. Should we come to India now?
Yeah, let's move on to India and let's focus on the first test for now, and then
Yeah,
we can just
yeah.
discuss similar to Australia how much
The
flexibility they
changes.
have,
Yes,
because they'll
yes.
have three for sure. They'll have three different teams for the first three tests.
Yeah,
Maybe the fourth one they might replicate depending on the result.
yeah.
So openers, I think Mayank Agarwal definitely.
Yeah,
Uh, one of Shaw or Gill.
yeah, I agree.
I'll
I
leave it to you
mean,
to decide.
it's a tough one. Prithvi Shaw was the incumbent. He played
Yeah,
in New Zealand. He had a poor time. Even in the warm up games here, Prithvi Shaw hasn't. He had one innings where he scored 40 of 29 balls, so he went absolutely berserk. But
yeah,
Shubman Gill has been a little more consistent than Shaw in the warm
yeah.
up games. He's had two 50s. So I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that they will go with Shubman Gill as the opener with Mayank Agarwal.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with that. Maybe Shubman Gill, for Australian conditions, slightly more technically sound.
Yeah,
Although Shaw got a 50 in New Zealand, I think he played a few rash shots, so maybe
yeah,
it's better for him to sit out at least for the first couple of games, but maybe he might come back if there is a loss of form or lack of availability of top order batsmen.
yeah. True.
Um, and then 3, 4, 5, pretty straightforward.
Yeah,
Pujara, Kohli, and Rahane.
yeah. Straightforward.
Um, number 6 and 7. So would you play
Actually,
two
no, sorry.
keepers?
I was going to say that number six is also pretty fixed. I think they will go with Hanuma Vihari,
Yeah,
given that
sorry,
he
yeah.
scored.
Hanuma Vihari at
He,
6,
he
yeah.
scored. He's been a consistent player for India in the last year or two. So
Yeah.
yeah, Hanuma Vihari at six. Question is number seven.
Number 7 is the question, right? I mean, in typical Rishabh Pant fashion, he scored 100 in the warm-up match to
Of 70 balls.
yeah. So do they go with the exuberance of someone like Rishabh Pant or the stability of Saha?
Saha. See, my opinion is in a test match, I would go with the better keeper.
Yeah,
This is my opinion. So I would suggest going with Saha.
yeah,
After that, it's up to the management what they decide. Yes, Pant is a better batsman than Saha, but I think Saha is a much better keeper than Pant is.
yeah, yeah. I
And
would,
it comes down to that you're playing a high profile series. Any mishaps behind the stumps can cost you big time.
yeah,
So you might as well cover that. I mean, Saha's a decent batsman. He showed that in the IPL. He can
yeah,
be aggressive. He can play the defensive game as well. So I'd go with Saha. What do you
yeah.
think?
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that. I think it's especially in Australia in the pink ball test match. I think for all of Rishabh Pant's, fantastic batting ability, I think in those conditions, I'm not sure, how he'll fare.
Yeah,
And it's just better to have, even as as a batsman, a more stable option like
yeah,
Saha,
agreed.
and as a keeper for sure.
Yeah.
Although we'll miss Pant's sledging abilities. Uh,
Well, maybe you'll see Saha come into his own and have some
yeah,
nice banter with Payne,
yeah. But
potentially.
because Payne's not a temporary captain anymore, so
Yeah, Payne is permanent now. Payne is yeah.
Payne
Um,
is permanent. You're right.
yeah.
um, so moving on to the bowlers slash all rounders, would you play Jadeja at 8 or Ashwin at
Well,
8? How
Jadeja's
do you do?
injured.
Oh yeah,
Jadeja's
well,
injured,
he's
so
not.
he's
He's not
he's
part of the
he's
squad.
not he's not. I don't think he'll be ready for the first test.
Yeah,
Maybe second, third, fourth test he might be available, but certainly for the first test you've only got two spin options in Ashwin and Kuldeep Yadav.
yeah. So it's gonna be
And
Ashwin, right?
yeah, I'm going to go with Ashwin. I mean, there's been talk of India playing four seamers,
Yeah,
potentially even Australia, but Australia might not because Nathan Lyon has done really well with the pink
yeah,
ball.
yeah,
And I would completely disagree and say that even India should go in with a spinner. I
yeah,
think in the warm up game, it's literally just finished. They had to bowl Mayank Agarwal and Prithvi Shaw, who got
yeah,
hammered.
yeah.
You'd rather have R. Ashwin bowling those overs.
Exactly. You
India
need
were
that.
playing only four pacers and they were not playing any, frontline spinner. So Ashwin at 8 is a no-brainer,
Yeah,
followed by the three medium pacers. I think two are a lock-in. Bumrah and Shami are a
yeah.
lock-in.
The new all-rounder, Bumrah.
Bumrah, the new all-rounder, to bat at number 9, and Shami at 10. And
Yeah,
then number 11, uh,
it's your
hmm,
favorite versus
yeah. So I guess
Saini.
it's a toss-up between Umesh and I know Saini's a good choice, but Siraj has also done
Yeah,
decently in the warm-ups. He's actually done much better than Saini did. But I think they're going to go with Umesh Yadav.
Yeah.
There's no doubt in my mind that they'll go with Umesh.
Yeah, I think long
especially
term.
since especially since I don't know if you heard this, Ravi Shastri confirmed that over a beer with Ian Chappell. I think he
Oh,
told
really?
Ian Chappell over a drink that Umesh is going to be the third seamer. So I trust Ravi Shastri
Yeah.
after he's had a few drinks.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
let's see. I mean, it's I agree. I mean, it's difficult to see someone like Saini and Siraj, going, the longevity of a test match. Can
yeah,
they go through that?
yeah,
And Yadav, he's done pretty decently in the red ball format.
yeah. Agreed.
So I think they'll go with that
Yeah,
as their
yeah,
first choice.
yeah,
And then moving on to, I guess, the second, third, fourth test matches. Obviously, Kohli is
yeah,
not available. I think the
yeah,
second test match is where the real question is, because third and fourth test match, Sharma can come in and they can rejig the top order.
yeah,
And then it's the case of, who do we have at number 4 when Kohli's not around? So do they put Shaw as an opener and Gill moves to 4?
yeah.
Or do they have someone else coming in at number 4?
Um,
KL
it's
Rahul,
a
maybe.
it's a tough one, but personally, what I'd be inclined to do is to potentially bring Shaw in as an opener and move Shubman Gill to 3 and have Pujara at 4.
Well, that's a lot of rejigging, though.
That's a lot of rejigging, I know. Um, but I guess or you could go down the route of just playing KL Rahul at number
Yeah,
4.
well, that's what I would do. I
Yeah,
would
you just have KL at 4.
he's been he's played well in the white ball format. He's
Yeah,
shown
yeah,
it that he can play, in Australia as well.
yeah,
And he is a very good batsman. So I don't see any reason why he just
yeah,
can't be a straight swap
yeah.
without
Agreed, agreed.
rejigging. I
That's
mean, like
fair.
for like, you look at it, it's you have to pick between Shaw and Rahul right now. Right now, I'd pick KL Rahul any day,
KL Rahul,
regardless of
yeah.
its opening or top order
Yeah,
or
yeah,
run the
fair
form.
enough. So he can just slot in
Yeah,
at 4, and
yeah.
that's the end of it. No more changes.
And then
And
you
then
can
obviously,
argue, yeah, when Rohit
sorry, go
Sharma
on.
comes back. No, I was
Yeah,
just
I
gonna
was
say
going to say,
when Rohit Sharma
yeah.
comes
So
back.
when you go to the third and the fourth test matches, and if Rohit Sharma is match fit and available, then you have another conundrum on your hands. Where do you bat him? I would just go as opener, because that's what
Yeah,
his role is going to be in the test matches, right? So he should be opening along with Mayank Agarwal, because that's what that's what the squad is going to be. So I would just literally swap Gill and Rohit Sharma
yeah.
and carry on with KL at number
Yeah,
4.
it's only going to be difficult if Gill gets a couple of hundreds in the first 2 games. Then you're in a bit of
Yeah,
a conundrum. But I don't think
conundrum.
that
Yeah,
should be.
I don't think it should be
That
a
should be.
problem.
I
Yeah, I
mean,
don't
if it
think.
is, then that's a good problem to have for India. But
True,
I
true.
think it should be a straight swap, Sharma. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, and like I said, I think is the third test match, the Sydney test match again.
yeah,
India, hopefully Jadeja's fit by then. Then
yeah,
India have the option of playing potentially 5 bowlers with 2 spinners in there,
yeah,
so they can probably potentially drop Rahul, move everyone up,
yeah,
play both Jadeja and Ashwin,
yeah,
and the 3 pacers. I don't know. That could be an option
yeah,
that could be a route that they could go down. So yeah, I think India as well. We've already discussed the bench strength. In terms of bowling, they've got Navdeep Saini and Mohammad Siraj as backups.
mm,
They're relatively new to Test match cricket, so they're untested.
yeah,
So I would say Australia has an advantage there. Spin options, obviously, India have great spin options in there,
mm,
and batting options as well. I think we've discussed, most of them:
yeah,
Prithvi Shaw, KL Rahul. Yeah, so both teams, look really strong.
yeah.
Um,
Key
Coming on
players.
to key players, yeah. So what do you think?
Uh, I mean, for Australia, you can't really look beyond the middle order. Smith
Yeah.
and Labuschagne.
Yeah,
I mean, if they get going, especially with that relatively fragile top order with no
yeah,
Warner, I think it's on both of them. And again, Labuschagne, he's got a small test career so far, limited test career, but
yeah,
he's been phenomenal. So I think he'll be one to watch out for.
yeah,
And then for India, I think you have to look at. I think for me, it's just be Bumrah in Australia.
yeah,
Fast bowling. He's been decent in the white ball format. I don't think he's been he's not lived up to his kind of historical performances.
yeah, true,
Uh, so in fact, overall, since he's come back from injury, I don't think he's kind of been the same. So it'll be good to
true.
see him. Not just Bumrah the bowler, but also Bumrah the batsman now.
Fair enough. So, for me, key players for India are going to be Ajinkya Rahane,
Yeah.
given that he's going to captain the last 3 test matches. Lots of responsibility on his shoulders. He looks he looks like a very good captain. He's
Yeah.
captained once or twice already, and India's done well in
Yeah.
those games. Tactical changes have been pretty good, similar to
Yeah.
Kohli, not letting the game meander, and he's
Yeah.
got the game to score runs. He's a very
Yeah.
good back foot player. So he's really got the game to score runs, and I would back him to
Yeah.
potentially be the highest run scorer for India in
Oh
this
wow.
series, over Pujara.
Yeah.
Pujara, I mean, you can expect Pujara to
Yeah.
do well, right? But I think
Yeah.
Rahane is going to be the standout, especially since he's not played the IPL. He's kind
Yeah.
of been in test match mode. So has Pujara, to be fair.
Yeah.
But I just think maybe the extra responsibility on Rahane might bring out
Yeah.
the best in him as a batsman. Um, and I would also just give a special mention to Mohammad Shami, who's been absolutely brilliant across
Yeah.
across all formats in Australia in the last 1.5 years. He's just been
Yeah.
brilliant. So I expect him to have a good series. Um, for Australia, it's a tough one. Yeah, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say maybe someone like Travis Head.
Yeah.
He needs to really step up. Like he needs to score big runs because the openers and the mid and the top order, they're going to be facing up against Bumrah and Shami. So
Yeah.
there's a good chance that they might crumble. There might be a collapse. So I'm expecting Travis Head to probably come in pretty soon
Yeah.
at times, and then he really needs to score the big runs, score the big hundred. So looking forward to his performance, and I think Nathan Lyon always does well against
Yeah.
India, so in Australia especially. So yeah, Gary, goat Gary.
Yeah.
um, yeah, so those are the key players. Predictions?
Um, I think, I mean, just given by what we've discussed and the uncertainty of India's batting and chopping and changing, I think
Yeah,
Australia are favorites for
yeah.
me. And I think they'll probably win 2-1 or 3-1.
Okay.
Um, I think the biggest point for India is they might probably actually win the first test because that's when they'll probably be at their strongest.
Yeah,
And Australia at their weakest with no Warner.
yeah,
But I think Australia will come back once they have Warner coming back in.
yeah,
India will lose Kohli. And Sharma, okay, he's a phenomenal player, but he'll be quarantining for 2 weeks with no match practice. I know he's been given some like training to do in his room, but
yeah, yeah.
that's not real match practice,
That's
right?
not. Yeah, I agree.
And then be like shoved straight into a test match. It's just going to be really
Yeah,
difficult.
yeah. No, I
Uh,
agree. I agree.
so I think,
Um,
yeah,
I I
2-1 to
I
Australia.
2-1 to Australia. I kind of agree with you with Australia being favorites. Um, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's probably going to be a drawn series 2-2. I don't expect there to be any draws per se.
Yeah,
You never know. There might be, but I'm just saying, it'll be 2-2. I think both teams are very evenly matched. And I
yeah,
would say Australia were favorites had David Warner been available, Will Pukowski wouldn't have got injured, Cameron Green wouldn't have got injured. I would have said yes,
yeah,
100% Australia would win the series 2-1 or 3-1,
yeah,
whatever. But because of these injuries and because of the change in balance, both teams are going to have change in balance almost
yeah,
the first three tests.
yeah,
They're going to have forced changes potentially
yeah.
because of injuries and stuff. So yeah, I'd probably say 2-2, 2-2 draw. I don't know
Sitting on
how
the
that
fence.
I don't know how that affects the World Test Championship table and stuff like that. But I think just based on what we've discussed, I just see them being relatively even. So 2-all.
Well, the only team that benefits is New Zealand, right? I'm sure they
Yeah,
wouldn't mind a draw.
they wouldn't mind it. They wouldn't mind it. Yeah, they wouldn't mind it. Yeah, they're obviously doing really well against West Indies. They've got Pakistan up next in Test matches.
Yeah,
So yeah, I think they'd be pretty confident of winning.
yeah,
Winning. They've won one already. I think they've got three more Test
yeah.
matches. I think they'll win 3-0 there. But
There's a very good
we'll,
chance. Yeah, yeah,
we'll come to that. We'll come to that in our future episodes.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
Cool. So that was our episode. Hope you enjoyed that. As always, please do like, share, and subscribe, and do let us know if you agree with our predictions, and if you agree with our starting 11s. Do you think Sharma is going to be match fit after a 14-day quarantine to come in straight away into the third and fourth Test match? And let us know what impact you think Kohli leaving early will have on India. Clearly, Zai thinks there's going to be a big impact. I
Yeah.
think there might not be much of an impact, but do let us know what you think in the comments. And thank you for watching.
Thank you.